Hello, everybody. This is your student aide here. Today we are talking about the dead poets Knox Overstreet, and this is psychology related. This is going to be talking about psychology theories, and yeah, let's get started. So the background. So Knox Overstreet is a Welton student, and he is studious, rule-abiding, shy in the beginning, and slightly rambunctious. And in the beginning of the movie, Neil calls Knox a future lawyer, which conveys to the audience that Knox is dedicated to succeed and nothing would drag him down. So the development through important movie scenes. So one scene in the beginning of the movie showed Knox arriving to the Danbury's house and meeting Chris for the first time, and he comes back to the Welton Academy head over heels in love with Chris. And then after that scene, he was determined to be with Chris regardless as she was dating someone else. Another scene in the movie, Knox called Chris and she invites him to her party in her house. He was shy in the beginning of the movie, but becomes more outgoing and sociable with the support of his friends and his love for Chris. This growth of confidence compels him to call Chris. One part of the party scene shows Knox creepily pet Chris's hair, which causes Chet to beat Knox up. This does not stop Knox's undying love for Chris and pursues her more. The development continues, and Knox's confidence grows, and his outgoing nature and carpe diem principle is definitely apparent through his actions. For example, Knox wrote a poem for Chris and reads the poem to her in her school, not caring what the consequences he may endure. Because of that poetry and Mr. Keating's teachings, Knox transforms from an unsure young man to a passionate, motivated poet and filled with desire and confidence. So one very important scene that is significant for Knox is when Chris shows up at Welton after seeing Knox's pursuit to win her heart over. Knox and Chris both argue, but ultimately Knox persuades her into going to the play together. His many attempts prove to be somewhat effective, so then Chris goes to the play with Knox and even holds hands with him. Throughout the movie, there were many situations in which Knox Overstreet deliberately disobeyed the conventional tradition and truly acted upon the motto Carpe Diem. He displayed individualism and self-growth. So one theory is the Erik Erikson stages of psychosocial development. And three of the sub-theories that Eric conveyed in the movie was initiative versus guilt, identity versus role confusion, and intimacy versus isolation. If you guys want to read to yourselves, just pause the video right now. But Knox Overstreet experienced this stage because although he felt guilty of his actions and knew he was breaking rules, he took initiative anyway and proceeded with all these acts to win Chris's heart over. And then there's the identity versus role confusion. This stage was very similar to Knox because Knox did have his identity figured out when he arrived to Welton. I said in the previous slides, Knox was studious, rule-abiding, shy, and determined to pursue his career. But then when he met Chris, he changed his entire role and became rambunctious. He broke rules and did not care because he was in love with Chris. And he claimed that if he couldn't have Chris, he would die. So his role and identity changed throughout the movie and ultimately found himself together with Chris in the end of the movie. And there's intimacy versus isolation. And Knox was isolated in terms of a relationship in the beginning when he came to Welton. And then when he saw Chris, he fell in love with her and experienced intimacy with her. And there is a Sigmund Freud psychosexual development. Knox Overstreet does develop emotions during the phallic stage and then leading to sexual feelings for Chris when he falls in love with her. Then there's the Jean Paget stages of development, and this is one example for Neil. Neil Perry, in pre-operational stage, Neil does exhibit symbolic thinking and egocentric thinking when he discovers the Dead Poet Society. His logic, rational, and objective interpretations and knowledge does develop in the concrete operational stage, and Neil does think abstractly on broader issues like his future career, which he receives conflict from his parents, and he experiences the social moral issues in the formal operational stage. Then there is a Lawrence Kohlberg's moral development, and this is back to Knox Overstreet, and he went through each stage during the movie. For example, the pre-conventional morality, conventional morality, and post-conventional morality. You guys can read this, pause the video, and I will skip ahead. There is the Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a short one, so I'll read it. So Knox Overstreet did display the needs in the stages of the pyramid. During the movie, for example, belonging, esteem, self-actualization. Belonging was in love with Chris. Esteem developed great confidence, and self-actualization displayed self-growth and individualism. So neurotransmitters and a dopamine and adrenaline. So this is not one of the theories, but it is included. And as an example of dopamine is when Knox Overstreet fell in love with Chris during the entire movie. Specific moment was when Knox and Chris hold hands during the movie. An example of adrenaline is Knox Overstreet got into a fight with Chet and he was in fight mode. That is all for the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. It's pretty short. It was pretty short. I just wanted to just go through a summary of Dead Poets Knox Overstreet and the relation to the psychology theories. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. It really, really helps. I really hope I can become a very good teacher online for you guys. Thank you so much.